Welcome to this new event organized within the Creativity Trade Fair, the first online fair dedicated to the cultural and creative supply chain. I am Viviana Guarini, Communication Manager of Impact Hub Bari. I was given the opportunity to organize this workshop with a grow hacker, now one of the most successful grow hacker on the Italian chain, Lara D'Argento. Together with her, we talk about the grow hacking applied to the cultural and the creative companies. This appointment lasts 45 minutes. During the last 10 minutes, Lara will be able to answer all your questions that you can write in the chat. I don't steal any more precious time from you, and I pass the word to Lara D'Argento. Good continuation.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. So we'll jump into the screen directly. I assume you're already watching it. Yep. Okay. So yeah, sorry, it was a bit fast. So yes, this is me. I'm Lara D'Argento. My current job is I am a growth mentor in acceleration programs for startups. And I work with the hub, and I've been working with the hub in the last month to develop business strategies for startups, especially in the cultural and creative sector. So we'll see some of the outputs today. Why me? Well, in Growth Mentor, there are most of my business years lately. It means that I spent lots of time studying and applying growth hacking strategies, and then I decided to share these strategies with startups in acceleration programs. I've been a growth mentor specifically in Traces with about 50 hours of mentorship. I work with people who made the handmade glass design objects, audiovisual production, mobility opportunity hub, 3D puzzles for didactic support, experiential tourism, and performing arts, and many more. When you say culture is a very broad sector, so that's why you can tackle both tourism and then more, I don't know, installation art, and then more music and theaters and museums and so on. And about museums, it's a strong interest on my side. That's why at the end of May, I wrote about growth hacking and museums on the most important financial Italian newspaper, Il Sole 24 Ore. And why? I mean, I do not have any background in creativity whatsoever, so I've never been a curator or something. The thing is that, like never before this year, we felt the urge of a change of perspective. We faced everything that was uncertain. And when you face uncertainty, you must call those who live with uncertainty. And who's better than a startup? Or what's better than the startup ecosystem to face this topic, to tackle this topic? None, probably. Because growth hacking, which is basically a marketing approach based on data-driven, based on continued testing, based on intersection, does not invent anything, really. The definition dates back to 2010 from Sean Ellis. We were in the Silicon Valley. And Sean Ellis, one day, at the end of July in 2010, he publishes a blog article called Find Your Startup a Growth Hacker. Why? Because in order to grow, you need to defeat silos. You need to defeat strict departments, perimeters, whatever frame you might face during your business activity. And growth hacking is about intersection, is about testing and testing and testing. And that's why at the beginning of this year, especially in the cultural sector, when we were, for example, used to think that in order to enjoy content for a theater, we had to go to the theater, we actually suddenly changed perspective. And the lesson for the startup system, growth hacking imports many best practices from other sectors, like lean methodology, like design thinking, and like the startup world. We learn how to react quickly, how to creative think about an alternative. And that's why I dedicated some time during quarantine to search for best cases, best practices, especially among museums, that faced quarantine in a very creative way. Somehow they hacked quarantine. The result of this research is mainly in my activity as a growth mentor, and is mainly in my commitment to share this kind of knowledge in favor of creative and cultural industries, because I strongly believe that yes, culture is business, and that's why I chose to write on Il Sole 24 Ore. I chose to write about culture on a financial newspaper, because I really think that this sector might not only bring and add some social and cultural impact, but also an economic impact. So the aim and the reason why I'm here today, which by the way, I'm pretty happy to be here, is to share the message that I want us, or I want a revolution starting mainly from us, to show that it is possible to live with culture. It is possible not to have another job in order to pursuing my cultural activity. It's possible that I can pay my bills thanks to my cultural activity in whatsoever domain, of course, of culture. And that's the focus of my intervention today. We are in the first edition of the Creativity Trade Fair. That's why that I chose actually to leave text. So you'll find much more images in my presentation than text. And also it's a workshop. It means that I will leave some minutes, sometimes at the end of my speech, to face questions. So there will be a question and answer time that I'm pretty thrilled to discover. Why growth hacking? Well, as I told you, growth hacking could be translated as a marketing approach. For some people, it's a mindset, almost a philosophy. Why? Because it's target-oriented. So it's not about winning, I don't know, leads or contacts or likes. No, it's about achieving results. So it's about growing. It's not about, I don't know, winning market or markets. It's about developing something that lasts, that creates an impact, that can prove to cause traction in the market, in the ecosystem, that can prove to cause disruption, to change really the world. I mean, it's a definition, it's 10 years of definition of growth hacking, 10 years of webinars, 10 years of events, 10 years of books, of masterclass. But somehow this has been the first year where we truly kept our attention on this topic. And let's see why. Well, we jumped back in Australia in 1796. At the time, we discovered that even a black swan could exist. Actually, black swan exists. Yes, we weren't prepared for that. We weren't prepared for that. It was a very rare event, unpredictable. It was an event with massive consequences. It has been an event that we could only analyze in the past. It wasn't possible to analyze the discovering of a black swan before we saw there was a black swan. And that's what happened from an animal study point of view. And that's also what happens when things happen. Life happens, and we are unprepared for that. So we are unprepared. For example, for this event, we were sure we would have done this event physically. We had to change. I heard Vincenzo Bellini yesterday saying we had to change because yes, there was no alternative. No, actually there was one, and it was doing it online. So we still had a choice, but we learned it after. We could have not prevented before, of course. And that's what massively happened on this planet this year, with a great learning from that. That is, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know I can control the use of the time that I do. I can control how I use my time. I can control how I train my mind to the uncertain. I can control my mindset. So I can stay ready, not just be ready, I can stay ready. And this was crucial in the cultural sector because, of course, well, I mean, let's be honest, it's not the first funded sector. So it's not exactly the priority on business agendas around the world when a crisis comes. And that's why things were even more difficult for the cultural sectors, because we were already trembling, and then a crisis, a new crisis came. So at the beginning of the year, 2020, the situation was this one. Everywhere on the planet Earth, the situation was this one. How could the museum at the beginning of the year think that they would have delivered some content not in their building? How could the theater could have imagined to produce some shows without welcoming visitors at the theater, and so on? How could performative arts, for example, could think to create events with people, but not letting people to create a large group of people? We didn't know. We didn't know. We knew nothing at the moment, and we were scared, and we thought we would have never survived, probably. But then, this is the situation right now. We learned that a creativity trade fair could have also organized online. We learned that that maybe, yeah, museums were closed, but they were still able to engage with their visitors online, at least partially. We learned that that experiential tourism could make people discover new abilities and new experiences and new stories online. And we discovered that, yes, we could have online experiences. Well, not exactly the same thing, but still better than nothing. Somehow we found ourselves stronger. And yes, there is just one worse thing than a crisis, which is not taking advantage of that crisis. What we have learned so far in this year? Well, this is my favorite growth hacking mentor, my master of knowledge in growth hacking and whatsoever. It's the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And I don't know if you remember, but when Alice found herself in the forest, kind of lost, she sees this animal and she asks, "What road do I take?" But then the cat says, "Where do you want to go?" So we learned that all the technology and all the digital stuff was useless if we didn't know where to go, what to do. Nobody can tell me the road that I have to take if I don't know where I want to go. So we learned to step back on our mission, on our focus, on our why, what Simon Sinek would already called actually, your why. Yep, sorry. Yes, this is a pillar of growth hacking. We learned that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. It's just a phase. So we learned the lesson of Alessandro Volta, who loved actually to say that in his life, he didn't find one way to do a bulb, to do a lamp, that he found 99 ways how not to make a lamp, how not to make a bulb. That's the lesson. So growth hacking says, you gotta test. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, and as the Keynes would say in economics, we are all dead on the long term. So if you still keep on presenting me a marketing and communication plan 2022, well, it's like a fantasy romance for me. I mean, I appreciate your effort about writing this document, but it's a nonsense. You don't know. We can know. Nobody can know. So the only way we have to learn new things and to learn how to survive is to test new ideas, to test new projects, to do the best with the resources we have in the moment we are and in the place we are. Of course, testing means, yes, you might fail. It's a phase of the process. It's a step of the process. The more you fail, the more quickly you fail, then the faster you approach to the success, to the idea that will scale, for example, to the idea that will let your company, your startup, your cultural institution survive. But if you don't start to fail, you are never going to achieve any success. And if you don't change your mindset about failing, then you're not going to achieve any kind of success. I don't know if you've ever been to Los Angeles. I have, and I love that city. One of the first things that caught my attention was that everywhere at the crossroads, you see a "Do not block intersection" sign. I found very useful. Somehow it was a learning every time that I walked onto a street, every time that I get outside the building, as we say in the startup world, was, do not block the intersection, do not block the intersection, do not block the intersection. I strongly believe that innovation happens at the intersection. Well, it's also a TED talk that I kindly suggest you to watch. The author is Emily Wapnick, and the TED talk is about being a multipotentialite. What does it mean? It means that in order to survive, all the case histories that, for example, I wrote about on Il Sole 24 Ore, on the financial newspaper, were about testing new ideas, importing tools, practices, whatsoever, from other sectors, from other people. A very famous case in Italy has been in April, Galleria Estensi, a museum in Modena. Not exactly one of the most museums we have in Italy, but still, the director. So again, I was telling about Galleria Estensi in Modena, where they actually were able to survive doing school visiting, school visiting online. Thank you to a tool coming from the real estate world. So they rebuilt all their collection in 3D, and that makes them available for every actually school in Italy as well. So they will improve this best practice, this test doing in quarantine, in their marketing strategy. I move on. Okay. We also learned that it's important to having a team. So growing is not something that we can do on our own. We need a team, and we need a team made up for different superheroes and different competencies and different talents. We also learned that to know what our mission is about means also to learn to whom we are talking to. So who is your audience? And only if we know our audience, then we can improve growth strategy. about our cultural and creative products. The image that I chose here is Netflix. It's because often I say, oh, okay, so I am a cultural organization, and shall I look at Netflix to do best? Yes, you should, at least in terms of audience engagement, because the micro-segmentation they do with their public let Netflix know exactly what movie you like, with how many actors, which kind of actor do you prefer, which kind of language do you prefer, and what so on. So in order to get the same knowledge about our audience, we need to study. And especially, we need to study their habits. So to understand new behaviors. It means that before 2020, we probably did not give any attention to how, for example, how long a visitor, a user, stands in front of that artwork, stands in front of their performance. How often do they come back? Because probably we had no tracking system or whatsoever behaviors. Now we have the possibility to have it. I mean, most of the tools are free, so we're not talking about buying a suite, you know, like spending in a software as a service system. But we are talking about monitoring what people do. People that are gonna buy. People are gonna use our product and or service. In the picture, you see actually it's an Italian company from Sicily, and they made a very innovative way to sell audio guides in the museums with a very high rate of personalization. So it's not just a matter of the same content for every people, blah, 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 but it's about I choose the content according to my public, according to the kind of knowledge that I want to share with that segment of audience. And then, yes, lastly, we learned the importance of just not looking at vanity metrics, number of likes, I don't know, hearts and thumbs up. We learned the importance of understanding what is the right metric for me, for my business, for my company, for my institution. Is that, for example, people who write me an email? I don't know. Is people who tag me in their contents? I don't know. I can't actually say it. And each one of us has his or her own metrics. You're gonna find that metrics. So we learned the importance of understanding who is the public, who is the person who is using our product or service, how do they live? So their behaviors, their habits, and finally, how do I measure their behavior? How do I measure the success of my exhibit, of my show, of my performance? How? And that's very personal. So what is more important for me? What is my top priority and what are my extra priorities? So the thing that has to happen, because otherwise there is no sustainability to my project, and the things that would be cool if they happen, but if they're not, well, that's okay, because it's not the top priority. And yeah, it was a kind of course, unexpected again, this meeting. I'm sorry for the interruption. For me, being very superficial and trying to do something for every industry in the cultural and creative sector was quite a challenge. So I stopped actually my intervention right now, and of course I'm available to any other insights and yeah, in-depth contents. Best way to get in contact with me is shortly on LinkedIn. And now, Viviana, I open up to questions, if any.
Ok, if you have some question, se avete delle domande, è possibile avere le slide? Sì,
It depends. Who are you? I don't know. Yes, it
sì,
is.
è possibile avere le slide, quindi Lara le fornirà
Okay,
diciamo,
first of all,
all'organizzazione.
Is the public all Italian? If yes, parlerò italiano negli ultimi minuti.
Ok. Ci sono qualche altra domanda? Just to share it with my company.
Boo, I want to know, like, tell me something, because I'm not seeing anything in this very special session. So, are you working in a museum, in a theater, startup?
Ci scrivono nope, greeting from Patras, ci dice Dimitrios.
Ah, okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, we continue to speak in English.
Yes,
okay.
yes, okay. Efkaristo, Dimitri, Efkaristo.
Yes, if you have the slide, is the task of Raffaele and Cristina dice italiani, Dimitrios, okay, greeting for Patras. Patras is very beautiful. Raffaele ci scrive, right, I'm a theater director.
Okay.
So he asked the slide for share with his company, for example. Okay, no problem.
No, absolutely no problem. It's going to be a pleasure. Thank you, Raffaele.
Okay, have you other question? He's the moment.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It never happened in interruption like this before. Never, ever in all my sessions. But okay, first time. Again,
have you, do you know the grow hacking? And you have some example. I asked to the participant some example of grow hacking apply on your company.
I mean, we still have some minutes. I can tell you something more, because Impact Hub and me, we have been working not only in Traces, but I am a growth mentor for Sprint Factory as well. It's an incubator for startups. And we do many things together about growth hacking. We did meetups, we did webinars, we did personal meetings. I can tell you, for example, that all these investigation about growth hacking applied to cultural industries started from our city, which is Bari. And during quarantine, the museum Pino Pascali in Polignano a Mare, of course, they were closed. And what they did was they started building up a website, because we couldn't go for their physical site. And they organized actually a photography exhibit on their website, alternative website, with a tool called My Portfolio. After quarantine, they kept that. So they say, okay, we're gonna have a freemium business model. So what we do online is gonna stay, and it's gonna be free. And then visitors are coming back to pay tickets in order to physically step into the museum. So this is a great example of, okay, I tested new things, I learned, and now I take my experiments results into my permanent marketing business strategy. I understand new habits, and I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose the ones who were virtually visiting my museums, but I'm going to keep them. And if you write me also on LinkedIn, then I can, of course, share many other examples with you. So don't be afraid of reaching me out.
Okay, Dimitrios, right? Thank you. Most appreciate the discussion in English.
Ευχαριστώ.
Okay, is the time for a last question?
Yes, 2 minutes.
Okay, Dimitrios asks, does growth hacking mainly involve a digital web application? Are there any example of non-digital applies?
Sure they are. Look, I mean, generally speaking, search for Houston Airport. It's one of the most famous offline growth hacking cases around the world. And then growth hacking does not mean technology, does not mean digital. It might mean technology, it might mean digital, but no, not at all. The reason is it depends. So tell me where you want to go and I'll tell you which road you should take. That is the lesson.
Okay, Cristina asks if you have some course in Puglia.
Well, you should visit probably Impact Hub and ask Impact Hub if they if they hire me for a new course, Cristina. No, not yet personally, but I told you, ask Impact.
Cristina writes that she lives in Portogallo in this moment.
Yeah, it's a great surf spot, so I could consider organizing a course in Portugal.
But she will return in Puglia in December, so
okay,
we have some time to organize a course in December.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Okay.
Well, if they are gonna cut me suddenly, then I thank you for the time and this peculiar session we had. Also, Viviana, grazie. Thank you for your support. Very much appreciated. And I'll send you out the slides and then all the information you might need about the session.
Okay. Thank you, all participants, and thank you, Lara D'Argento.
Va bene. Ciao ragazzi. Ciao,
next time.
Ciao, ciao.